6. I'm your chair, Vice President Botello, and our vice chair is Director Kilhold. Next. Okay, is there anyone in the room or online that would like to introduce themselves? Mr. Clerk? Any requests for introductions on online?
Negative, sir. None seen.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, public comment. Members of the public may address the board regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. However, no action may be taken on off-agenda items except as authorized by law. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Clerk, any requests to speak?
Mr. Chair, I did not receive any requests to speak, and to the public that's present online, if you wish to provide a public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. Nothing
Okay.
seen, sir.
Hearing none, let's move on. Discussion and possible action items. Discussion item 3.1 is going to be brought to us today. I'm going to kick it over to Cindy Sachs, our Chief Financial Officer, so she can introduce our guests. And it's on our quarterly investment portfolio update with PFM Asset Management. Cindy.
Thank you, Chairman Bateo. Today we have Tiffany Tent from PFM Asset Management here and this is the quarterly update through December 31st of 2025. So I'll turn it over to Tiffany to do the presentation.
Is that on? Okay. Do I just
You can take the next slide and tell me what's
here we go.
go.
I'm all good. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. For those that I haven't met, my name is Tiffany Tint. I'm a Senior Relationship Manager at PFM Asset Management. I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to sharing our fourth quarter market update and walking through your investment portfolio results. To set the stage, let's take a look at the key themes shaping today's market conversation. At a high level, the U.S. economy continues to hold up, supported by steady consumer spending and ongoing business activities. Overall, inflation is trending lower, but the labor market continues to cool. That softer labor market was the backdrop for the Fed to cut 50 basis points during the fourth quarter. So short-term yields came down, and then the yield curve steepened, but the very front end of the yield curve remains inverted. The Fed continues to face the challenge of managing its dual mandate, facing upside inflation risk and downside employment risk. Views on policies are divided. Projections are widely dispersed, a good reminder that the path forward remains uncertain. Turning to take a closer look at the inflation on this page, the headline and core CPI eased in December, falling to their lowest level since early 2021, nudging us a bit closer to the 2% target set by the Fed. The latest PCE, which is Fed's preferred inflation measure, came in at 2.8%, which is in line with the CPI readings as well as the market expectation. That said, we continue to see pockets of firmness. The table on the right shows the 3-month annualized inflation rate. Several categories of key goods are still running elevated. Although December prints moved lower, it is difficult to assess true price compression. The longest the government shutdown created gaps in data collection, and that gap may have distorted CPI readings. But the takeaway is that overall inflation is trending lower, but it is still very sticky. Shifting to the jobs market on the next slide, labor conditions continue to cool with a monthly average loss of 22,000 jobs over the fourth quarter. The federal government sector took the biggest hit, pushing federal employment to a decade low. In the private sector, job growth remained sluggish as well. Low hire, low fire remains the theme. We did see some gains in service-oriented sectors, in particular healthcare, social assistance, as well as private education. Overall, the stress in the labor market is uneven across workforce groups and across sectors. December unemployment, as shown on the right, fell to 4.4%. January unemployment, that data was just released yesterday, was at 4.3%, so little changed from December. However, it's worth noting that labor force participation also fell. So even with slower hiring, a smaller pool of job seekers is keeping unemployment within the maximum employment range set by the Fed of 4 to 5%. The Fed's December dot plot is shown here. This chart is always a favorite because it shows the full distribution of views across all 19 policymakers. While the median path is unchanged, the range of views has noticeably widened, as represented by the dots. This dispersion highlights growing uncertainty around Fed policy and how closely the Fed will be watching incoming data. And it has been said that, there's no hurry to make the next move, and the next data release will be most important for the Fed to watch. Turning to the...
Tiffany.
Yes.
Real quick, excuse me. Let the record reflect that President Harrison has joined us. And go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not a problem. Turning to the Treasury yield curve here, the fourth quarter brought a noticeable shift. Short-term yields moved lower, with the very front end dropping more quickly following Fed's rate cuts. Meanwhile, longer yields inched higher, and they have continued to rise, further steepening the yield curve. Looking ahead, markets expect at least one cut, possibly two cuts this year, but not until July of this year. If that trend plays out, we could see a positively sloped yield curve ending the inversion since mid-2022. So why do these market indicators matter, right? Measures like inflation, employment, they drive Fed policies and in turn shape the fixed income valuation, the yield curve dynamics, as well as how we structure your portfolio. We always prioritize safety and liquidity. From that, we seek to deliver attractive return for the district through thoughtful allocation and high conviction security selection. So with that framework in mind, let's look at the portfolio and how it navigated through the fourth quarter market environment. To begin, I will highlight the district's investment portfolio balances. The totals shown here include short-term investments in CAMP and local agency investment fund. Out of the $796 million consolidated portfolio balance, short-term investments represent roughly 52%. Both accounts continue to deliver positive growth, supporting the district's liquidity needs as well as the longer-term investment objectives. The next slide, it breaks down your consolidated portfolio by sector. Overall, credit quality remains strong, with more than a third of assets in U.S. Treasuries. again, meeting the district's safety and liquidity objectives. All investments remain well within policy limits. To reinforce this, we've included the certificate of compliance on the following page. We can confirm that the portfolio stayed fully compliant with policies and guidelines throughout the quarter. Total returns for the managed accounts are shown on this slide here. Both portfolios delivered strong results this quarter. Performance also remains solid over longer time horizons, reinforces the district's total return objective. Our ability to deliver consistent outperformance while continuing to prioritize safety and liquidity reflects the rigor of our disciplined investment approach. The next slide shows dollar returns starting at the top. The managed account continued to deliver positive growth. For the quarter, the portfolio generated $4.3 million in income and price appreciation. Looking over a longer horizon, the portfolio has delivered more than $74 million in annual income to the district over the past 10 years. The bottom half of the table highlights total portfolio earnings, which have continued to trend higher. That growth is being driven by strong accrual basis performance, reflecting the portfolio's earning power without the noise from interest rate-driven market value fluctuations. On the cost yield basis, earnings remain attractive at 4.23%. This is a very strong level in today's falling rate environment, with cash yielding around 3.8%. As the number on the bottom row show, from left to right, we remain focused on generating steady and rising earnings for the district. This slide it shows the maturity distribution of the consolidated portfolio. Overall, both the maturity distribution and the weighted average maturity remained largely unchanged from last quarter, keeping the portfolio in line with the strategy. This is the last slide. So before I wrap up, just a quick note on the 2-year Treasury yield shown here. The 2-year Treasury yield is viewed as the market's barometer for short-term interest rate expectations. More recently, short-term rates have edged lower, suggesting that cash focused strategies that have done really well in the recent past may be losing momentum. That said, as the chart shows, yields remain elevated relative to historical averages. So this means that there's still opportunity for you to lock in higher yields, especially if you are holding excess liquidity. In a declining rate environment, locking in high yields for longer will reduce reinvestment risk and positions the portfolio more favorably over time. With that, I will pause and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Directors, I'm opening it up for any questions for Tiffany. None? Okay, well, I have a question. So Tiffany, I remember the last, maybe the last couple times, there was some talk about what would be the impact of the president's tariff policy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any legs with that or any concern?
Tariff policies is still ongoing. That topic has lessened over the past few months with other things going on in the market. The market has been muted, less impact, and then it's really more focused on the Fed policy going forward and what's going on with the re-election next year.
Okay. And then this next comment might fall under opinion editorial, but when you were talking about labor market,
Mhm.
And then you said that, that the sector that has been most, impacted are in the federal jobs.
Mhm. That happened in October of
Yeah,
this
I,
past
no,
year.
I totally understand it, but if, here we go. So if you drill down on that data, the individuals that have been most negatively impacted by the federal jobs, vacating those jobs, are African-American women between the ages of 25 and 55. So women that are starting their careers with the feds and women that are ending their careers. And I just think that that's concerning. And I just wanted to make sure that my colleagues know that there are some negative impacts to vacating these positions at the federal level. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy, did you have anything to add?
I did not have anything, unless
Okay,
you have
I'm
any
sorry.
questions, but thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, this was a receive and file, and we're going to move on to discussion item 3.2. It's going to be brought to us by Greg Woodside, our Chief of Planning and Watershed Resilience. But first, I want to hand it off to Wen, our AGM, so he can introduce the topic.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Botel and members of the board. So today, for your consideration is Resolution 1198, which will allow the board to adopt and approve the district's 2025 local hazard mitigation plan. And as you know, this is one of the many planning documents that we prepare and update on a regular basis. And the most recent update of the local hazard mitigation plan started in 2024. And the staff have been, going through different channels, talking to our local, stakeholders, such as our retail agencies, as well as the board, throughout this development process. And now we are getting ready to take this back and for you to consider adoption of this plan. So with that, as a background information, I will turn this over to Greg Woodside. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Win. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to start by tying this to our climate adaptation and resilience plan, and it does connect with that activities. So in the CARP, or the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan, guiding principle number 2 is to protect the water portfolio. And there are two of the items of the 4 mentioned here that I want to just briefly note: the risk we have with flooding and the risk we have with wildfire, which are both important categories we considered as we updated our hazard mitigation plan. I wanted to also note, overall, this is a document that connects conceptually with our emergency operations plan. The emergency operations plan is what we follow immediately when an actual disaster occurs. So it has a very specific and detailed set of procedures and responsibilities during an emergency. So the emergency operations plan, in contrast to the hazard mitigation plan, the emergency operations plan is very focused on short-term, like what happens during an emergency. What we're talking about today, the hazard mitigation plan, or the HMP, is what we do long-term to reduce our risks. So we work to identify how we can reduce our risk through different programs and projects. So by background, the district's first HMP was prepared in 2005, and it is required to be updated every 5 years based on FEMA's requirements. And the HMP is critical to applying for hazard mitigation funding. So different activities that the federal government from time to time has funding for to reduce our risk through mitigation, it requires this plan to be current within the 5-year window. So I'm going to briefly review the steps that we did to update the HMP starting in 2024. So we conducted a survey regarding hazard mitigation planning through our social media, our website. We prepared a risk and resilience assessment, which is a required step. We reviewed and presented this information to the BTAC. We then conducted additional public outreach. And at this point, some of these are not necessarily like sequential. There's some overlap in time, but we present in this way to walk through it. We conducted additional public outreach. We reviewed the district's risks and identified new opportunities to mitigate risk. We then prepared our draft hazard mitigation plan. We reviewed that with the board. We distributed it for review and comment. We conducted additional outreach. We went through the review process with Cal OES, that goes first, and then the FEMA comes second, the federal government's review comes second. And we didn't really get significant comments either from Cal OES or FEMA. We got some kind of like documentation related things from Cal OES. From FEMA, we just got a request to do some additional outreach. So we sent the draft H&P to some additional parties. But that was the extent of the comments we got from Cal OES and FEMA. So where we are from FEMA is that they call it's ready for FEMA approval pending this board's adoption. So they say it meets all the requirements. It needs to come back to them after our board here adopts the plan. So I did want to review some proposed hazard mitigation projects we've identified. This is not an exclusive, I'm sorry, not an extensive list that includes everything, but just wanted to note a few. So we identified the Sites Reservoir project as a hazard mitigation project. We identified the Delta Conveyance project as a hazard mitigation project because both of these projects, very large investments, part of a collaborative effort with a number of stakeholders, but they do provide significant risk mitigation reduction. We've talked about this one with the board before, the Foothill Pipeline. I put the picture in the left because the pipeline's all underground through the area. So this is where, right at Devil's Canyon, you can see some of the pipelines, but every place else, the Foothill Pipeline's underground. And then the picture on the right is the creek at City Creek, where the creek is degrading. And there's been some protection put in, but we have a project we're working on to reduce the risk of, and eliminate the risk of the washout in the future. I'll note here too, there are some other stretches of the pipeline where we have a similar, as you get all the way to the east by Mill Creek, we have a similar project identified as a risk reduction project and mitigation project for the Foothill Pipeline at Mill Creek. So east of here, of course. So a couple other projects I want to mention that we have in there. We have a proposed project for backup power at the Redlands Warehouse. That's because, among other things, the Redlands Warehouse is our emergency operations center, and a lot of our communication systems go through the Redlands Warehouse. We also have a project, a much smaller project for backup power, but backup power for the baseline feeder surge tank. That's going to be a much smaller system, but again, it was a project we identified, the baseline feeder surge tank. We have also identified vegetation maintenance, such as at Sunrise Ranch. There was a fire break built at Sunrise Ranch in the line fire, and we want to maintain that fire break to the extent feasible. And we also have a mitigation measure to continue to implement our CARP. And there's more listed. So our next steps is pending board action. We would transmit the resolution of the board's adoption of the HMP. We would continue seeking grant funding opportunities for mitigation projects. That could be state funding, federal funding, others. We'll be bringing back review of potential projects to the board as we look at particular projects and as we do our budget preparation for future budgets. And that is my last slide. The proposed, or the staff recommendation is to adopt the resolution that approves the local hazard mitigation plan, subject to any minor non-substantive revisions. That concludes my presentation. I would be glad to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you for that. Are there any questions? None? Okay, well, I do. So, when FEMA said that they needed more input, sorry, and you said you sent it out. Did they ever say that they would, did they ever ask us to have any public forums?
No, they do not.
Okay.
They do not have that specific of recommendations, but what they asked for was outreach to the Red Cross and to one more library. We'd already done some outreach to some libraries, but one more library.
Okay, thank you. And then, was there ever any thought, and or just throwing this out there to include as, so our assets we're getting ready to take possession of those 7 hydroelectric plants.
We can't do that in this plan until we do take possession, but this plan, there's a sheet in there where you can do you'll see if in the documents, like revisions,
Amendments.
you can do updates. So we would plan to update it when that big transaction's complete. And then other things along the way that we care to add, we can
Okay.
track it that way also.
And you know that there's, well, I know you know this, $10 billion in funding coming from Prop 4
Mhm.
to this area, probably in 27.
Mhm.
So in terms of everything that we're doing here, that would be able to pivot this information and apply for some of those grant monies?
Mhm.
Perfect. And then finally, in the staff report, can I direct you to page 50?
Mhm.
What you sent out to directors?
Yes.
And this is just a question. I mean, I read this whole thing, believe it or not. And I did have some concerns about so it would be the 3rd paragraph.
So this is in the staff report,
Yeah, it's in the staff, it's in your actual plan,
or the actual plan, okay.
the actual plan,
Page 30, okay.
page
Yes.
50.
Page 50, okay.
Yeah. So, the 3rd paragraph, you said, or someone said, industry includes major agricultural production of citrus and vegetables in Redlands area, a major medical center in Loma Linda, and key railroad transfer facilities in Colton, Rialto, and San Bernardino. Other industries are represented by a major petroleum products surrounding Colton, software development in Redlands, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I should defer to Mr. President on this, Milford. Does Redlands still characterize itself as an agrarian economy? That's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, in Riverside, San Bernardino County, I think we have, don't quote me, but I think we have probably 15 of 25 Amazon fulfillment
Mhm.
centers.
Mhm.
San Bernardino Airport is, in terms of cargo, not passenger, but cargo, it is, I think, the busiest cargo airport in the region.
Mhm.
So I think that this does not really characterize
Mhm.
the demographics or what's going on in this, and in our area.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, in the revisions to the plan, we can make note of it. We can provide additional context. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You know, these plans and the emergency, I know there's 2, you know, for example, and I always do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway, at the city of LA, on Christmas Day, we were called into the Emergency Services Center headquarters in LA because of the flooding and the Department of Aging, because the Department of Aging has a permanent there. So we don't have a choice. We have to be there in case there's a major emergency. So I know that the county of San Bernardino is doing what the city does, and they're dedicating a whole building over on Lena Road to emergency preparedness. So we're the state water contractor. Shouldn't we inquire or have a conversation with the county folks about whether we should have a permanent seat at their emergency center? It just, for me, it seems like it's a no-brainer. Because if something happens, and we didn't even talk about earthquake, but if there's an 8.5 infrastructure, especially our pipes, I think they will be impacted negatively. That's what my sense is. I'm not sure. And I just think that, instead of waiting, I think we should inquire about whether it makes sense for us to be at the table. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we can discuss that internally and follow up, and staff can follow up on that. Yes.
Okay. That's all I have. Is there no other questions? Thank you, Greg. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
We need a motion, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice President Mateo,
Yes.
Director Keelhold,
Yeah.
Director Longville, Director Velasquez,
Yes.
and President Harrison. The motion carries. Resolution number 1198 is approved.
Great. Okay, discussion item 3.3 is going to be brought to us today by Stephanie Chesson. And she's our Senior Strategic Communication Specialist. And we're going to consider approval to launch the new San Bernardino Valley website. Stephanie.
Thank you, sir. Well, good afternoon, directors, and thank you for the opportunity to present a preview of the new and improved website. Now, before I walk you through the site, I did want to give you briefly explain why the update is important. Just to begin with, industry best practice on updating a website is about 2 to 3 years. The reasons is because we want to keep pace with the changing design standards. We want to keep up with user expectations. And an outdated website can perceive how one views an organization. Another thing to note is today, 65% of web users use their mobile device. Compared to in 2010, it was about under 10%. So mobile responsiveness is really important because if your website's not responsive, you're losing over half your audience when they get to your website. And then, of course, performance and security are also important reasons to update. Faster load times improve the user experience. Modern web platforms provide stronger protection against cyber attacks, which continue to evolve every day. And I will also show you a quick speed comparison on the next slide. And then, of course, search visibility is really important. You've probably heard the term SEO, that's search engine optimization. Google and other search engines will favor newer websites. So they will crawl websites with newer coding. So if the websites are out to date or they use older coding, they don't crawl them as much, and then your results are lower. So we want to make sure that we're up top when people are searching for us on Google. Last but not least, ADA. This is obviously super important. ADA is guidelines. There is not a set standard. It is all best practices, but that continues to evolve every year. So we really want to make sure that we're up to date with all the ADA compliance. So next is a quick Google Insight speed test. This is testing for performance. And so our current site right now has a 51% result. That really can just be from older code, large images that aren't compressed, things that worked 4 to 5 years ago that now there are a plethora of things that optimize it, make the website faster. So our new site is getting a result of 94, which shows that we are using all best practices. Do I have any questions or would you like me to continue?
How do you get to 100?
How do you get to 100? I know, right? We're so close. You know what? I'll work on that 6%, sir.
No, we're missing, that's all. Okay, sorry.
All right. Now let me show you some before and afters, and then once we're done with that, I'll take you on a live demonstration. So first up is, of course, our homepage. The current site, all the text is the same. This is something where your eye doesn't really know where to go first. Where our new site, you see right off the bat, we're talking about San Bernardino Valley. We're having a nod to serving the community. It's showing how long we've been an entity. You'll also see the video in the background giving us some visual experience. Director Longville, one of your comments back in August was to make sure that we had a directory. We incorporated that. We added a red button right in the front with a contact us that goes to every single person in the building with their title, name, email, and phone number. And I'll show you that on the live demonstration as well. Next is of course, our board of directors page. I needed to showcase this. I just wanted to point out what a difference visuals make. It's great for the public to know who is leading the organization and who is representing their voice. So this is, a very big difference from a table with names versus a photo, being able to view your profile, read your bio, actually see your division, and I'll showcase you that too. So they can click on your profile, see the division, click on actually where they live, and then also see who is representing them. And also, I really wanted to point out the careers page. I'm personally really grateful to work here. I know what an amazing place it is as an employee. The page on the left doesn't really represent that. So if you didn't know how great our organization was, and this was the only thing you saw when you were looking for a career, you may or may not apply. I don't know. But on the right, you'll see that it really reflects the culture that the board and Heather has worked so hard to create. Personally, for me as a staff, I believe that it reflects the employee experience. You know, we are purpose-driven. We're a small but mighty team. We received the top workplace, which is that button right there. So I just want to show really that before and after, what some visuals and some more context can do. So if there's not any questions, I will take you to the live site. Okay. All right, here we go. So just kicking off the homepage, we have condensed quite a lot of pages and redid the structure. So on the old site, when you went on the About Us, there was about 40 links. So we really went through and pared it down to our top links that people go to and put all of our information on those pages. So we have our About San Bernardino Valley, our board of directors, what we do, doing business with us, contacting staff. Instead of just a local waters condition tab, we did change it to your water so that the community knows they have a buy-in, that they are a part of us. We have our outreach and conservation, our local water conditions. All of our projects and planning are now on one spot instead of having to kind of navigate through the page. And then, of course, with government, transparency is really important. So we have our meetings and agenda, financials, our reports, also our property tax information. We want to make sure that's all there for people to find quickly. We also have these buttons up here, our hot buttons. These are buttons that on the old page, we ran analytics to see what are the things that people are going to, what are the first things people are searching for. And these are our top 5 pages. So we wanted to make sure that those are right on the homepage. As you scroll down on the homepage, we really wanted to feature our local projects. These have rollover effects, so you can read a little bit more about it before you click into it. You can also click through it. So it kind of gives you that user experience that you're looking for with a new site. So all of these go to their own page that has more information. It has our partners, it has timelines, and I can also showcase that for you. Keep going, we have our mission statement. We have all of our upcoming meetings with a calendar. These will also click on and you can get to the agenda here. Serving our community. This is something that we wanted to put on here because one of the biggest calls we get at the front desk are people asking about property tax. So why put it 4 or 5 clicks down? Let's just show them right there. The cool thing about putting it online is we're giving people the resource to learn more about it. When you click on the property tax information, we can actually now show them why there's a property tax, how we're funded, and there's even a chart showing that, yeah, we do have a property tax, but if you look, our board of directors continue to lower the rate in the last 10 years. So this is a really great talking point and a visual representation of how the board is handling property tax. So let me go back to the homepage. We have our favorite. We still don't have any goats in our sensitive species, but I'll deal with a burrowing owl. So they're not that sensitive, but I really like them. Just, you know, we do have toads, sir. So I'll change out one of them for you. So this is just a highlight. We didn't want to put all 26 on the homepage. So it is fun. You can click in and see details. The thing that's great about this is we have created trading cards with our sensitive species that we hand out at tablings. So now people are going to get an experience in person when they're tabling, and then they're going to go to our website. Yes, they're going to go, thank Vice President Mateo. So then they're going to go to our website and they're going to get that same experience. So we're really bridging that personal and digital experience. They're not going to go to a website and go, this doesn't feel like that really cool symposium event I went to where I got all this great swag. But now they are. They're going to be like, wow, they're touching all the corners. So, sir, if you click on view all species, I will get to your toad right there. So this has all of them. So this is also a great educational piece. This is something that we can show classrooms and really bring in a more diverse audience of our community. So back on the homepage, we do have an Esri story map. These are just such cool pieces of tech where you can scroll in and actually get a map of all of our upcoming projects, our completed projects. You can click through it. You can see on the map where items are. And then at the very end, again, to kind of sandwich the contact us in the beginning with it at the bottom. You went through this whole page, you still don't know what you're looking for, go ahead and reach out to us. And then the directory is now here. We've got our admin office information, our contact us button, and then the team. So you can scroll through and see everyone. You can also say, I just really want to talk to Michael Plinsky. So click on water resources and there you go. So keeping this really streamlined, really user-friendly. So I'd like to show you just a few more pages. Under transparency, I'd love to show you how we have the new reports. On the old side, if you needed to get to a report, you kind of had to click in, open the PDF, look for it, click back out, click out again, click in, get frustrated, walk away, call us. So we're trying to make this experience better. So now everything is in one spot. What's neat is if you don't know what you're looking for, but you know it was in the 1970 year, we've got both of our water master reports. If you just need a keyword, I know I'm looking for water master items. Now you're going to show up everything in the category, anything, all the amendments. And then we also have the categories here as well. So hopefully this will also help people self-serve and be able to find the things that they need.
The 1969 judgment.
Yes. Yes, sir. There it is. And you can download it. And there we go, right there. So you can download it, print it. Yeah. Yeah, I know none of you are busy. Projects and planning. So this is a really interesting page that shows us not only our local projects, again, like the homepage, but you can also scroll down and read about our state water contractors, scroll down to our state projects. We've got Delta Conveyance, we've got Sites Reservoir, we talk about State Water Project, as well as our Watershed Connect. And so really, if you wanted to, you really want to learn more about enhanced recharge, you can click more. We have the location, the start date, the investment, our partners. We want to make sure that people know about the connection in the watershed. And unlike a printed material, once we go to print, unless we collect them all back from people, that's really set in stone. Just a reminder that anything here we can add on to, we can grow, we can add documents, we can add pages, we can add more tabs. If once phase 1C is complete, we can add that here. And just to show that this website will continue to grow and expand as much as the company does. And if it changes directions, the website can also change directions. Are there any pages specifically you would like to see? I am happy to demonstrate that. I am happy to move forward to questions. So the news tab will be our email notification sign up, but this is where we can add press releases. We are even thinking about doing blogs and making it more community driven. And maybe it's not something that has been deemed a press release, but it's something that we can bring into the community and we can start writing about what we're working on, because the projects, take 10, 15 years. They are such massive projects, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it as it's growing. So we're really thinking what a great place to start a blog.
Ma'am, can you please show the board their page?
Yes, of course, absolutely. So under our board of directors, as I had previously mentioned, we do have everyone's profile. You can click on that, read the bio. You can click on the division's boundary map, which takes you to an Esri experience. What's really great about here is you can find where you live. If I'm in Rialto and I click on this, okay, I now know that Director Velasquez is my elected official. So when I go back to the page, I can scroll down to the bottom and I can email Director Velasquez. I can email all board members. Those are going to come through us and then we'll push them forward so you don't get bombarded. But it is a great way for the public to be able to reach out to you. Again, we have the map here below too. If they don't click on your profile, we don't want them to miss this step. So we've really tried to incorporate redundancy for no matter where someone is navigating on the page. Yes, sir.
So your familiarity with this is really, well, for me, it's really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm just wondering, like, once you've done something like
Mhm.
this, don't you feel like you're an expert on what we do?
You know, what blows my mind is every time I think I know something and then I read something new and I'm like, what is that? I think Heather was like, you should go to one of the scalping meetings of the Water Master. And I'm like, this is a whole new world. So I do think it's the coolest industry I've been a part of because I can't believe how much I continue to like, I get here and then it's like, oh, but there's more.
No,
But wait, there's more, you know?
I was thinking like if you're just Joe Public or Jane Public,
Mhm.
if you go through our website, I mean, you learn a lot,
Yeah.
right?
And I think the nice thing is it's digestible for someone who's brand new to water, but also if you are extremely knowledgeable, you can get where you need to go and learn even more, you know? So somebody brand new is not reading the 1969 judgment, but us as staff, if somebody comes in or asks, do you have that? And we're like, yeah, we do. And we can point you to it. So that's what's so great about really incorporating a very visual, but also informative website is you really get to open up all that information to a massive audience.
Does that conclude?
That does conclude unless you'd like to see anything else.
No, I'm going to open it up to directors. I know they have a lot of questions. Go ahead, President.
Well, Stephanie, it seems like you're always doing things that are interesting and controversial and fun.
I
And
try.
I just want to say, this is wonderful. This is such a huge, huge improvement, not only over what we've had, but what we see from everybody. I go on some of these sites and I think, how in the world do they expect me to get, and I'm IT challenged, I'll admit that, but how in the world do they expect me to get the information that I'm trying to find? I went on a local website just yesterday trying to find out who the board of directors was, because there was somebody on that board that I knew that I wanted to key on their name. And it took me a long time. But you've taken all of that into consideration. I think this is going to be such a gift to our public, to the people that we serve, that they can have this kind of information at so readily available and so easy to find. And I really compliment you and everybody that worked with you on it. And it's not unlike you to come up with something interesting. And
Thank you, sir.
you're a fun lady.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Director Longville, thank you, Milford.
So I'm excited to improve this today. And if we launch, will we launch tomorrow? Will we
So-
launch?
So the goal is to launch the very beginning of March.
Okay, the very
Yeah,
beginning of
so,
March.
so I believe March 6th is what we have on the
Okay.
calendar.
Actually
That
launch
gives
then.
us some time to just make sure everything's tightened up. And then we usually launch on a Monday or a Tuesday. And that gives us about 3 or 4 days to work with our consultants in case
Okay.
sometimes when something goes live, maybe a button that worked on the
Mhm.
pre-production site, now on the production site. So it gives us a few days
Okay.
to make sure all those
Okay,
are.
and you'll notify the board.
Absolutely.
With that launch date.
Yes,
when it's
yes,
firm.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Director Gilhold.
A couple of kind of housekeeping questions.
Okay.
Where will the website be?
So the website will be our current URL, sbvmwd.com. Now, when we own that domain and it's on everything, right? It's on our business cards, our email. So is that what your question was, sir?
No.
Oh, okay.
Physically, where is it?
Physically, it's in the cloud and it is in a bunch of different servers. So we use something called CDN. It's Content Delivery Network. And what that does is your content, instead of living in one server, it's similar to the cloud. It lives in multiple places. So when people connect to our website, they are connecting with a CDN server who's pulling from different sites. So what this does is you get the items faster, your load times are faster, but it's not like looking at a cached site where it's old information, you have to flush the cache or refresh. It's a newer thing, a CDN network, so.
You have to use your helicopter to get up
You
to.
just told me the cloud and then
Oh, this-
I didn't follow you after that. Then you mentioned changing, updating it and revising it.
Yes, sir.
Who does that?
So that would be me. We do have a great consultant company, Fruition. They did all of the back-end coding. They will be contracted in for items that we do need if it gets a little too technical. I can reach out to them and they will be with us. They also, part of their contract, which is not something that we even pay for, is regular updates. So patches to the site. This is built on something called WordPress, which is a very popular open source type of coding. What that means though, when it's open source, is that they will make updates. And then if you don't patch into the updates, now you have security issues. So we're keeping them on board to make sure that we don't have any of those negative effects when people just build a website and then hands off.
And then if there's something sizable, they would just propose.
Correct, yes. For the most part, if you need a new page, we want to update photos, we want to update videos, we want to add some things, that's all something we can do in-house. If it is, we want to rebuild out the entire Santa Ana HCP, and it's 70 pages, and that would be something we would go back out and rebuild that site. But for the majority of items that will be added here, we can do that in-house.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions? Director
Through
Veloz.
Chair. I don't have any questions, but I do want to give kudos to the staff and all staff and you, Stephanie, especially, and Kelly and Tony, that I know sometimes we don't see him a lot, but he's always involved with everything. So
He's in the cloud.
he's in the cloud. But it's amazing, just the images and how the time of refreshing it's amazing. So great job.
Thank you, sir.
I do have one more.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, sir.
I think this is huge. The public generally has not historically known what their agents are doing for them. And this is information that, some of it's been around since '69 and some even older. And it's a great thing that it's available to the general public, because a district like ours has been, under the radar for 70 years.
Right.
Now we're only under the radar for those who want us to be under their radar.
Okay, thank you, sir. Heather.
Well, I just wanted to say well done to the staff, Kelly and Stephanie, especially, who worked really, really hard on this. I was probably one of the loudest complainers that I could never find anything on our website because you had to dig into like 4 layers of documents to find something. So now to be able to get our agendas instantly, people can find out who the board of directors is. They can put in their address and figure out, where they are within our service area, having our property tax information. All those things are so valuable, and they were just so hard to find before, that I'm very appreciative to our staff for really hearing us, that we wanted it to be that you could find, whether you're sitting in front of a computer or on your phone. You can find that information, and I just think that it really highlights what we do so much more than our past website. And we're proud of what we do. We are proud of how we do it. And so this website, I think, is a great reflection of that. And so thank you to Kelly and Stephanie and everyone else who worked on it. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, but just a final comment. So Heather, when Stephanie was talking about, because it was the questions that Paul asked about who is going to do the maintenance on this, she said she is going to do them. So I would hope, I mean, it's not my call, but I would hope that she doesn't get bogged down with a bunch of stuff because she has a lot on her. All of our staff has a lot on their plate. So I just, would caution you to make certain that if we have to hire those consultants and they need to make sure that this stuff is done, updates are done timely, then we do that. So that would be my only request from you, because I think the heavy lifting has been done and it's incredible. And it's a testament, like Paul says, to, you learn something after 70 years, how to do it right. And I think we've done it right. So with that, the staff recommendation is that the Board of Directors consider approval to launch this new San Bernardino Valley website. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Director Keold,
Yes.
Director Velasquez,
Yes.
Director Longville, Vice President Mateo,
Yes.
and President Harrison.
Yes.
The motion carries. The staff recommendation for item 3.3 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I could say one more comment, I apologize. I should have
No,
done this
we can't
earlier.
have any more. Sorry. You've had a motion, you're through.
I just want to
Sit
say
down.
how much I appreciate the Board of Directors and Heather. I've worked at multiple government entities and change is scary, especially with tech. And I just appreciate the creative freedom that you gave Kelly and I to build this for you. So thank you. We really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Heather. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
It's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you, everyone, for all the hard work. And we're gonna this is gonna be great for our community. Okay, next. Are there any future business? Hearing none, let's move on. Thank you all. We're now adjourned. Yay.